Good morning. This is James Exum coming to you from my studio in South Austin, Texas. This is my latest video being offered to you. I've entitled this one Democratic Socialism. Um, the text and the narration will explain more to you than I can in this short introduction. So let's go right to it if you don't mind.
Democratic Socialism. James H. Exum, Austin, Texas, August 18th, 2026. Copyrighted, all rights reserved. This is not a sermon, not a slogan, not political propaganda. It is just a plain talk about what kind of country helps regular people live better. Before the word socialism starts a fight, let's bring it back to real life. Most Americans are not reading big economic books. They are trying to pay rent or a mortgage, keep the lights on, buy medicine, raise children, and retire with dignity. That is the real issue, not left versus right, not red versus blue. The question is simple. Should a country as rich as ours make life less hard for the people who do the work? I do not mean socialism as government control over every part of life. I mean it as a basic question. Does freedom only belong to the rich? Or does it also belong to the mechanic, my father's work, to a nurse, farmer, cashier, truck driver, veteran, small business owner, and retiree counting pills at the kitchen table? Here are some plain definitions. Socialism is the idea that important resources and services should serve everyone, not just private profit. This can include things like healthcare, schools, roads, and retirement support. Democratic socialism says people should have more say over the economy, workplaces, and public services. It keeps democracy at the center. Social democracy is a little different. It keeps private businesses and markets, but uses taxes, rules, unions, schools, healthcare, pensions, and worker protections to make the system fairer. For many Americans, especially conservatives, socialism sounds like losing freedom, property, and personal responsibility. That fear should not be laughed at. History shows that too much power in one place can become dangerous, whether that power comes from government, big business, or politics. But fear of government should not make us ignore corporate power. A person can be trapped by a bad government. A person can also be trapped by a hospital bill, low wages, high rent, or an employer they cannot afford to leave. If we care about freedom, we should ask, freedom from what? And freedom to do what? America already uses public programs. Public schools, Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, fire departments, roads, libraries, farm help, disaster relief, and the GI Bill all come from the same idea. We pool money and effort to do things people cannot do well alone. Nobody calls the fire department tyranny when a house is burning. Nobody calls a public road communism when it gets them to work. The real question is not whether we act together. The question is who benefits when we do. There are global examples worth studying. Countries like Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden are often used as examples. They have private businesses, but they also have strong public services, worker protections, and safety nets. They are not perfect, and America is not perfect also. Still, they show that a country can support business while also protecting people from medical bankruptcy, deep poverty, and constant insecurity. Healthcare. Universal health care treats sickness as a public problem, not just a personal money problem. It does not fix everything, but it makes illness less likely to ruin a family financially. Education. When a country helps pay for education, it invests in its own people. Talent should not be wasted just because someone was born poor. Work and family life, paid leave, vacation, child care help, and worker rights make it easier for people to work hard without losing their health, family time, or peace of mind. To someone on the far right, I would say this: if you think elites have too much power, that concern is not foolish. If you are angry that Washington listens to donors before citizens, that anger makes sense. If you believe working people have been hurt by global corporations, cheap labor, trade deals, and politicians who let towns die, then you are already pointing to part of the problem. The next question is what we do about it. Do we blame people with the least power, or do we challenge the systems that keep wages low, healthcare expensive, housing unaffordable, and communities divided? Practical socialism, or social democracy, if that word works better, does not have to mean hating small business, faith, family, local culture, or patriotism. It can mean protecting ordinary people from forces too big to fight alone. A common objection: people will stop working. Most people want purpose, pride, and a decent life. Basic security does not destroy work. It can help people work better because they are healthier, less desperate, and better educated. Government will waste the money. Sometimes it will. That is why we need open records, honest elections, local accountability, inspectors, and strong anti-corruption laws. But waste is not only a government problem. Private companies waste money too, often through fees, bonuses, lobbying, or large executive pay. It will kill freedom. Freedom is being left alone. Freedom also means having a real chance to live, to see a doctor, learn a skill, care for a child, survive a layoff, and say no to abuse at work without losing everything. The moral center of the heart of this argument is not jealousy. It is not laziness. It is not about punishing success. It is about believing that one person's success should not require another person's humiliation. It is about believing that a child's future should not depend only on the neighborhood where that child is born. It is about saying that hard work should mean more than speeches on Labor Day. A decent society does not make everyone end up the same. It makes sure people do not fall so far that they disappear. It makes sure the ladder up is real, not fake. It understands that individual effort matters, but people also need a fair start. Here is a short history of socialism. It did not begin as one party or one plan. It came from old questions about work, poverty, property, and the common good. It grew during the Industrial Revolution, when factories made owners rich while many workers spent long hours in unsafe jobs with little security. Early thinkers imagined communities where people cooperated more and where human need mattered more than pure competition. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels later argued that history was shaped by conflict between workers and owners. After that, socialism split into many paths: communism, democratic socialism, social democracy, labor parties, unions, cooperatives, and public programs. That history matters because the same word has been used for very different things. To have an honest argument, we have to say which kind we mean. Socialism, communism, and fascism are not the same thing. Socialism is the broadest word here. It says major parts of the economy should serve the public good. That can happen through public ownership, strong rules, democratic control, or public programs. In democratic forms, socialism can exist with elections, private property, small business, religious freedom, free speech, and constitutional rights. Communism usually means a system where major property is owned by everyone together and goods are shared based on need. In real life, many communist countries became one-party governments with little political freedom and heavy state control. That is why many Americans hear socialism and think of the Soviet Union. But that is only one branch of a much bigger tree. Fascism is very different. It is an authoritarian form of politics built around a strong leader, extreme nationalism, obedience, hierarchy, military power, and blaming outsiders. Fascist governments may control business, but they often keep private owners as long as those owners serve the state. Socialism asks how the economy can serve the people. Fascism asks how people and the economy can serve the nation and its leader. Put simply, democratic socialism tries to give ordinary people more power over the economy. Communism seeks a classless society, but has often led to authoritarian governments. Fascism rejects equality and democracy in favor of hierarchy, nationalism, and control. Mixing up these words does not help. It only makes politics more confusing. The Founding Fathers did not debate socialism the way we do today. Modern socialism mostly grew after their time, especially after industrial capitalism developed. So it would not be honest to call Jefferson, Madison, Hamilton, Adams, Franklin, or Washington socialists or anti-socialists in today's sense. But they did ask related questions. What is property for? How much power should government have? How do we protect liberty from tyranny and corruption? What does equality mean in a republic? Madison and Jefferson cared deeply about property rights, but they also knew citizens needed a political voice. Jefferson disliked inherited privilege and believed that talent and character should matter more than birth. Hamilton believed national strength required banks, manufacturing, credit, and federal economic power. That does not make him a socialist. It means he understood that government shapes markets. Franklin often talked about public usefulness and practical improvement. Washington warned against political division. Adams feared both mob rule and rule by the rich. The founders' world was unequal in serious ways, especially because of slavery, the exclusion of women from politics, and limits based on property. Still, the best part of the founding tradition gives us useful lessons. Protect liberty, check power, do not let wealth become a throne, and do not let ordinary citizens become voiceless, desperate, or disposable. In closing, the average American does not need a lecture. The average American needs an affordable doctor, a job that pays enough, a school that works, a safe home, and a government that listens to citizens before donors. If socialism means anything useful in America, it should mean that. Not a foreign costume, not just a party label, not more useless bureaucracy. A practical promise: no person who works, serves, raises a family, or grows old in this country should be treated as disposable. That is not weakness, that is national strength. A country is not great just because powerful people are comfortable. A country is great when ordinary people can breathe, build, disagree, worship, work, retire, and belong without being crushed by the cost of living.
And there it is. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with friends and family. And if not, that's okay too. My voice is the voice of a retired veteran, one who suffers from a Parkinsonian disease, and one who writes daily to encourage other Americans to participate in our wonderful country. I'll leave you with that message. If you get a chance, review it at your leisure. And as I said, share it with friends and family. Thank you so much for your time. And I will see you, well, actually see and speak to you in my next video. Good day to you, and thank you.